Good morning or guten Tag from 2022 Aero Friedrichshafen, or 2021, 2020, and 2022, since we have had a 2-year hiatus here. This is the biggest general aviation show in Europe. I have Tom Horn here with me. Everything is exciting at this show for me, but Tom has been reporting from the show for a couple of decades. So what's exciting for you for the first time in 3 years?
I think the big thing this year is hydrogen propulsion. For example, you didn't see much talk about hydrogen propulsion. You saw no hydrogen designs back in 2019 when Aero left off. The big thing then was Flight Design's F2E, which was their offering as an electrically powered LSA. Okay, but this year Flight Design has come up with what they call the HyFly. Okay, this is a hydrogen-powered, uses the F2 airframe.
Now, the problem is the energy source, and you have different kinds of possibilities. Yeah, you can use a battery electric system, you can use hydrogen, you can use liquid hydrogen, you can use methanol, and at the moment, even for us, it's not 100% clear what will win the race in future. So that's why we have the battery version of the F2E, and we now, in a cooperation with Casero and with HyFly Technology, is developed here the hydrogen version.
And they're seeking pretty ambitiously CS23 certification for this in the near future, which is pretty ambitious.
So I'm going to hold back my Hindenburg jokes and focus on the fact that the reason here must be the fact that we get more energy density from hydrogen than a battery right now. Is that why hydrogen is kind of the focus now?
Well, I think people are trying different alternatives. Okay, they tried the electric. Electrical power has its well-known limitations. Energy density, endurance, the fire issue, okay? And now hydrogen promises greater energy density. However, there's many other problems that equal or excel those of electrical power, battery electrical power, namely transport of hydrogen, storage of hydrogen, and the fueling process itself.
And the storage of the fuel in the aircraft is really interesting. There's a couple of concepts here of where to put it in the aircraft. I love, I think there was one of the developers here or designers that uses giant tubes that pretty much are secondary spar inside the wing, and they're load-bearing.
Fill it in there.
Yeah, they're load-bearing tanks inside the wings to carry the hydrogen, which is a really cool idea.
Well, we see a lot of really cool ideas here. And we'll see what happens. So it's kind of hydrogen on the brink, electric, not so cutting edge. All the electric designs we saw from 10, 15 years ago have kind of gone mainstream in that they've sought funding, obtained funding, sometimes with airlines. It's gone mainstream with companies like Embraer, and we'll see later on Rolls-Royce. So now hydrogen is having its swing at things.
And we always see some really, really cool designs here. Last few years that I've been here, the airframe design here is always fun and exciting. Some really clever ideas, some crazy ideas. Some work, some don't, and you know what? That's part of innovation. But I think we've seen one, if I remember right, H2 Fly, that combines H2 Fly?
Hydrogen.
Yeah. So it's hydrogen and a really unique airframe. Yeah. It's like a 2-pod, really cool. And I think you flew the simulator, right?
H2 Fly, man. It's a 4-seater, and it's like all these. Prove a concept, okay? They're not about to enter service. They want to prove a concept. Will it fly? How will it fly? So this thing right now is set for production in 2028. Okay, that's a long way away. And yeah, it uses hydrogen. It's like a monster sailplane, and it has a single engine driven by hydrogen stores on board.
H2Fly is building a hydrogen powertrain for aviation, and we achieved a high redundant and safe system. So we can fly with this plane. It's a 4-passenger plane, 1,000 kilometers. Our next step will include a megawatt system where we will have the possibility to drive a 40-seater aircraft.
They had a simulator set up, okay, and I couldn't resist. And I got in the thing, and you put this virtual vision device on, and then you can fly in the chair there. And behind you is a screen showing what you're seeing out the virtual cockpit. And it was kind of fun, right up to the time the computer crashed, and that was the end of my flight. I wanted to get a landing in. I wanted to get a touch and go in a hydrogen airplane.
We'll blame it on a computer crash.
Blame it on a computer crash.
But in the end, you mentioned electric. That was really the big story a couple of years ago. Last time we were here, really. Electric and hybrid is not dead, though, and there's been some really interesting changes. Like Siemens was the big flag last time. But things have changed, right?
Siemens ran the electric motor division in the larger Siemens giant corporation. Okay, but yeah, it was electrical power, and all of the like in the past 10, 15 years, battery electric power. Okay, so now what's happened is Siemens sold its aviation electric power division to Rolls-Royce back in 2019, and you didn't hear too much about it in the press. Okay, but it happened nonetheless. And in the process, they gained about 180 Siemens electrical engineers working on the project, and added their own. Now they got about 400 people in Rolls-Royce working on electrical power.
Their stand was massive. Lots of concepts, lots of ideas. Anything else that stands out?
Yeah, well, they're working on a small electric motor.
What we're considering with this motor essentially is aircraft that today would be operated as single prop, maybe through a PT6. You can move and get the benefits of distributed electric in terms of robustness, redundancy. Moving to 2 of these motors on wing, and you've got your that combined power of 600 kilowatts.
And with this investment, with this new talent from Siemens, Rolls has explored a hybrid design using the Tecnam P2010 airframe, and it received funding from European Commission. So they've got this on display. The idea behind the Rolls-Royce Tecnam hybrid project is that the Rotax engine works all the time, and you add the electrical motor's power in high power situations, take off, fly.
The hybrid electric configuration offers you about up to 20% fuel savings, which of course is 20% emission reductions as well.
So electric is the new nitrous. And then on the pure electric front, we've seen quite a few. You mentioned the DA40, which without an hour and a half will be a great trainer. They do have the coolest charger of all of them. Pipistrel has another one. But the DA40 is definitely up and coming, right? It's in testing, is that right?
Yeah, it's in research now. They call it the EDA40, and they're using a Safran engine for power. They think they can get a 2-hour endurance out of it, which will be good for training purposes.
That's a solid lesson. Recharge, keep flying, right?
Come back, charge for 20 minutes, go back up for, they say, as much as 90 minutes.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, as a relatively recent flight student, anything more than an hour and a half of flight training is pretty exhausting. So I think that's a no.
That's probably the end of the productive time.
That's right. But they brought some heavier metal too, right? They brought the DA50 that I think we saw at Oshkosh.
DA50 is here. DA50 has been delivered in Europe since the middle of 2021. It's going on a U.S. demonstration tour this summer in the U.S.
That's a beautiful airplane running a diesel.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. It looks massive though when you walk up.
It's got a big cabin.
Yeah.
You can get TKS ice protection. Yeah. It's got a lot of features.
Pretty cool traveling airplane.
Yeah, we'll find out.
And Diamond for the last quite a few years has been owned by the Chinese, right? So any changes in plans based on the new ownership?
No, it's going to stay. Wanfeng bought it from the original Diamond owners, and that was in 2017.
Wow, so it's been a while.
Okay, yeah. But still, the companies perform very well, and they expect 300 deliveries this year
Wow.
and 400 deliveries by 2024.
Well, and at this point, from what we're hearing from everybody here and everybody stateside, they can sell every airplane they can make. Doesn't matter who.
They say the order book is full, and they're building a new factory in China. And the idea there is they have several factories, one London, Ontario, Canada, one in Austria, Wiener Neustadt, and one in China. And the idea is that these 3 factories will sell to each of the regions around them. So London, Canada would sell to North America, Austria, the Austrian factory will sell to European factories, and the Chinese factory will sell to the Chinese market.
So they're expecting the airspace to actually open?
No, I wouldn't say that. They see it as a pilot trainer
Got it.
for what they expect to be a growing regional aircraft airliner application.
That makes a lot more sense. I know in China the airspace is essentially owned by the military,
Military,
right?
yeah.
So that's
you
been
can't even get a chart.
yeah,
It's all secret.
that's right. And besides new designs, quirky powertrains, some really cool investment in hydrogen, alternative energy, electric propulsion. We've also seen some really cool old school designs coming back, right?
I know where you're going.
I'm going to when you zoom in, it looks like my luggage. You zoom out, it's a beautiful vintage airplane. The Junkers, we have the A50 Junior, or Junior, to say it properly, which was fantastic looking 2-seater that's on display a couple of halls over here.
Yeah.
And they're redoing the tri-motor.
Well, they got an A60, which is a retract. The A50 is fixed gear. The A60s are retractable, open cockpit 2-seat, and the JU52NG. Yeah.
And they're putting some modern engines into that tri-motor, right?
This is not your great-grandfather's JU52. It has 3 650 horsepower turbo diesels. Okay.
And then once upon a time, that was an airliner.
Oh yeah. So, but I think the idea now is that it would serve for sightseeing. It would serve for just recreational rides, Grand Canyon, that sort of thing. And I think there'd be a fair market for that kind of airplane. It's unique enough. And same thing with the tandem 2-seaters.
Right. Well, I mean, if I was in Henderson in Vegas looking for a sightsee ride down the canyons, and I could pick a 182 or one of these Junkers airplanes, the choice is pretty clear. which experience will be more fun?
Yeah, it'd be great to say, yeah, I flew in a JU52.
Yeah.
All
right. So the A50 Junior or Junior, to Americanize the name, really cool airplanes, and it's not just a concept. Like a lot of the airplanes here, concepts may or may not go into production. This airplane is going into production, and if my checkbook is big enough, I can buy one in a year or two, right?
Yes. The plan is to get it certified in the U.S. Okay.
Yeah, we start now with the LSA certification, and we will done it in December this year.
That's again pretty ambitious, because in Europe it's an ultralight. It's classified as an ultralight because it weighs under 600 kilograms, under 1,322 pounds max takeoff.
So that would make it kind of an LSA for us. Is that right?
They're going. Yes, it would fit under LSA, except, well, they'd have to find out. I mean, that would be it. They would have to apply for it and get it validated, but it's been done before. It's a possibility. Yeah.
And when it comes to small certification or certification of small aircraft, there is some disparity right here in Europe. The light sport like ultralight aircraft have a lot of leeway. In U.S., we're waiting for Mosaic to hopefully for things to get better, and some of the manufacturers here are kind of really waiting for that. I know I talked to our friends at JMB across the hall here, where you have a small aircraft running a Rotax, almost 180 knots out of a Rotax engine and retractable gear. Clearly something that's uncertifiable in the U.S. right now.
Yep.
And funny enough, you can now, at least they're testing one, to be able to buy one with a turbine. And I'll tell you, and again, I get excited about things that maybe others don't, but it's really cool to see these small aircraft here starting to pick up turbines as a means of propulsion.
Right.
And from what I hear from some of them, it's part of the reason is these tiny turbines are coming out of both model aircraft and actually some of the jetpacks for the Jetman that some of us have seen the YouTube videos, right? And I think UK military is testing it on ships, but they can take these tiny turbines, 120, 140 horsepower, running 7 gallons of really any jungle juice you can pump out of a tank.
It's all about weight. It's all about weight. The reason that they're certified as ultralights in Europe is that they make a distinction. They have a CS-23, CS-25. That's for heavier aircraft, like our Part 23, Part 25. Okay? They establish weight limits. 600 kilograms, 1,322 pounds. That sounds familiar, that's the LSA, okay? And a stall speed, no more than 45 knots. After that, anything goes. They, at the federal level, let's say the European Commission that governs all 27 member states in Europe, anything beyond those limits, they push down to the national level. And each nation can decide its own certification limits. As long as they stay under 1,322 pounds and have a stall speed under 45 knots, it's an ultralight, but it can be a retractable gear, constant speed propeller, turbine engine, anything, as long as it doesn't violate. There's no speed limit, and that's how, yes, we would love to get our hands on it, but it doesn't meet Part 23 yet. Now, this, with the reconstitution of the FAR Part 23, hopefully they'll be able to get more of an export market. Otherwise, yeah, they're going to have to bring them here if they have a distribution channel or a distribution network, and you're going to have to fly it as an experimental.
Also, and so we always talk about aviation outside of the U.S. being pretty squashed by bureaucracy, but in this case, there's actually an ability to innovate and do really cool stuff, more so than in the U.S. when it at least comes
Absolutely,
to,
absolutely. People think it is very bureaucratized here, but they took into account the pressure from the participating nations to have their own designs to encourage people to fly, to encourage more advanced designs, and leave it there. We have, all we've gone so far under Part 23 is the LSA, and that's where it ends. Our ultralights are tube and Dacron, 254 pound max weight. Over here, it's 1,300 pounds, and the stall speed. Don't care about engine power, don't care about anything. Goes too fast, make the wing bigger. Got retractable gear, make them fixed gear. Then you can sub to the Navy.
So for now, access to aircraft like the JMB, you have to have it assisted built here, which actually an interesting piece of news. JMB, I guess, is going to build in the same format the Evolution, which we have all seen as a sort of an experimental kit in the U.S. They're not going to build that in Czech Republic. You fly over, you could get your two-seater JMB or an Evolution. They'll do the build here. From what I hear from their team, they can make it better quality. Some of these small airplanes here are built beautifully. JMB.
Yeah.
And I think they'll apply the same to the Evolution.
But hey, here's the thing. It can go 170 knots, right? It can fly 1,000 miles. It's an ultralight. Here. Yeah, it's hard for a lot of Americans to wrap their head around it.
Yeah, for sure. And then for training purposes, there's also some news here some people may have heard about, but we have seen the airplane here now from Tecno. You went to see that team and see the Pimentor. What do you think about that machine?
Pimentor, that's Tecnam's new trainer aimed at dedicated airline training organizations. The idea being that you would qualify up to a complex and then move on to a more sophisticated.
That's probably good news for flight schools, right? Because training airplanes right now, huge short supply, and getting some more modern airplanes.
Pilot shortage.
Yeah, for sure. Flight schools are full, and getting a really good trainer seems to be harder and harder. And some of them run, again, Rotax, more modern powertrains. They're composite, so they're a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
Good to see some of that innovation. And besides that, again, electrics are kind of starting to make inroads there, although certification is still a question around for training, right?
We'll see.
I think Bristol...
Everybody's chomping at the bit, and the fact is, with such radical changes in aircraft design, which is extremely conservative, it's going to take longer than we thought.
Right.
For electric, hydrogen, what have you. So that's why these dates keep getting pushed to the right. 10 years ago they were going to be certified in 2 years. Guess what? This year they're saying, well, maybe 5 more years.
And that's maybe the curse of innovation, right? You're always few steps, not just one, ahead of legislation, ahead of rules, ahead of things. But it's really, again, it's my only third year maybe here. So walking around, I get really excited about some of these things. And I got you. Not all of this is going to make it, but seeing one aircraft manufacturer having a turbine, electric, hybrid, hydrogen, right one next to another, even if only half of those concepts make it, this is a pretty exciting time.
That's always the way it is.
Right.
Some don't make it.
Yeah.
But don't paint me in that corner. I do think we're going to get there. Just not as soon as they would like us to. I do think we're going to get there. But they got to improve battery technology. They have to test hydrogen more and get more hours on the aircraft. And that'll do it. I mean, once you've proven the design, then they'll put it in service.
Yeah, so I think we agree. I think it's exciting.
Absolutely.
Here at Aero Friedrichshafen, innovation is alive and well. Even bureaucracy can't stop it, as you guys have heard. And we are all optimists that maybe timing is not perfect. It's not going to happen next month, next year in some of these cases. But you know what? I'm looking forward to seeing...
I keep coming back each year hoping that it will be next year.
You know what? I'm going to be back next year just to see the progress and still get excited about all the new stuff coming in, from the quirky designs to the cool new propulsion. We will get there in time.
Yeah, I think so. And that's why I keep coming back to see the progress and to see the new things coming along. It's a good mental exercise, and it's a good way to get some insight into how these companies approach their work and how they approach change themselves. I think 20 years ago, Rolls-Royce wouldn't have dreamed they'd be working on a hybrid electric concept airplane. And I don't think you'd have hydrogen-powered airplanes. But we're getting there.
We're getting there, and on that note, Auf Wiedersehen from Aero Friedrichshafen 2020, 2021, and 2022 packaged all in one.
Okay.